All right. Good afternoon to my East Coasters. Good morning to those on the West Coast. My name is Angela Alberti. I will be your host for today's session. Before we get into it and talk all things talent, talent attraction, we really hope that today's session can be somewhat of an organic dialogue where we encourage all of our audience to go ahead and participate in today's session as well. Drop your questions in the chat. Give us your comments in the chat. We're going to be leaving some Q&A at the end of our session to go ahead and respond to any other pressing matters you guys want to know about because, wow, what a year we are dealing with. Before we dive into the questions and the dialogue, we'll go over some intros, starting with me. My name is Angela. I am a co-founder and VP of MyBase Pay. We are a startup and who is also the sponsor for today's show. So thank you to everyone at MyBase Pay for having this happen. We facilitate and process the talent ecosystem in two different ways. We act as the employer of record for contingent talent, and we also have a staffing talent exchange platform called the Marketplace, which we are very excited to roll out in the coming weeks. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm going to hand it over to Tracy. Tracy, would you give us a quick rundown on who you are?
Sure. Thanks, Angela. Tracy Simmental. I'm the Director of IT Staffing for GTS Solutions here in Texas, based out of Austin. We are a technology solutions provider company. Staffing is one of the divisions within GTS. We've been around since about 1984. The staffing division was stood up about 14 years ago to help with our customers that were struggling to meet the needs of placing their IT staff. You'll hear conversations around GTS about relationships and creating customers for life. We also like to have contractors for life. So both of those things are important to us. And I'm excited to be here, Angela. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Tracy. Thank you for that. All right, Beth.
Well, thank you for having me as well. My name is Beth Ryan. I'm a partner with Spectrum Staffing Search. We do accounting and finance, tax, audit, and payroll. I'm proud to say that we're second year recognized as part of the MAVS 100, which is the top entrepreneurs from UTA. And we've also been recognized by the Dallas Business Journal as one of the top 25 staffing firms in the Dallas area. So we're market specific to Dallas, Fort Worth, and we do some investment banking in Houston. And we take on some specific roles outside the market every now and then when our clients ask us to.
Yeah, everything for the client. I get that, Beth. Thank you so much for that intro. Maureen, finalizing the intros with you, please.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Angela. Congratulations, Beth, on those awards too. That's fantastic. So I'm Maureen Wilner, the owner, founder, president, CEO, HR, everything of the Wilner Group. We are a full service firm, so we're unlike you both. We focus across all different functional areas. So from HR, accounting, IT, marketing, sales, and operations. We are not just in New Jersey. We are also statewide across the US, and just recently won a new deal in Brazil. So we're now global. So it's very exciting, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Maureen. Kudos to our all-female panel for today's webinar session. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to sit down with all three of you and really start asking on some pressing topics. Before I get into it, I just want to go over a few housekeeping reminders once again. If you have questions, drop them in the Q&A or drop them in the chat. We'll go ahead and make sure to address them towards the end of our dialogue if we have a chance to get to them. And if you want to catch a recording of today's session, it will be emailed over to you guys. So whether you are watching this live or watching this via recording sometime from now, thank you guys all so much for joining us. We gained a lot of traction on LinkedIn, actually close to 380 people interested on watching today's show. So we hope that we have a few more people join us, but also that we can catch you on the recorded version after this. We want to keep today's session super organic. So you're going to notice there's no slideshow associated to our presentation today. This is just content in its purest form. with these lovely ladies that are going to be going over top of mind topics. And that's going to dive us right into today's first question, the most pressing question, I think, of all. Because as I stated earlier in today's session, wow, what a year it has been. I think if you are somebody within the talent space or somebody even at the executive level, what is top of mind for you right now is talent and finding out that there is not supply for the demand, or not enough supply for as much demand as we are facing. So we are going to start today's question exactly around that. Now, a lot of what you guys do over at Wilner, GTS, and Spectrum is consult with clients. Not only are we helping put the world of work to work every single day, but we're also engaging with the clients to let them know about what's happening and what's actually available out there. So that's going to drive me to my first question. And Beth, I will leave this to you to answer first. How is your organization preparing for differentiation in this highly competitive and highly candidate-driven market that we now find ourselves in? If we could look back from July 2020 to where we are now, and then furthermore, how are you educating your clients and their organizations on attracting talent and the right talent?
Wow, that's a big question.
It is.
And we've had so much fun talking about this and preparing for this podcast. One of the things that we have to talk to our clients about is the incredible disruption that we're having right now. So we, as recruiters, we always rely on disrupting the market. We, in fact, disrupt the market. We call candidates, we ask them about their level of interest, we understand what they're looking for, we try to create that turnover from one company to the other. But at this point, we're not creating that disruption. It's the pandemic, which basically had just pulled back like a rubber band, pulling all these candidates back in a position of projecting them into the marketplace. So companies are seeing a gigantic turnover, a lot of resignations, a demand for talent. There are a lot of people who haven't returned back from the pandemic just because their work circumstances are not ideal. So when we're working a position, we actually have to talk to the hiring managers about this, because let's face it, everyone's had to change their hiring practices, from the way they interview candidates to the way they their internal interview processes are, to whether they're comfortable doing a video interview to make a hire, and making that offer happen with the candidate's preferences, work from home, work from the office, can they work from the office, that sort of thing. So, and we're still in flux here. So basically, we're really having to make sure that they're comfortable making the hire, eliminate the risk as much as possible to making the hire, take them through like the new hiring practices, like educating them on how to do a Teams interview, a video interview, a virtual interview, and also making sure the candidates know how to do that. There's such a demand for talent right now that there are times that the interview process moves too fast. And sometimes with these candidates, they're like, whoa, we need to, what's wrong with this place for making me an offer so quickly? So we kind of have to manage the timeline and get the candidates comfortable before they accept an offer. And we also have to make sure that the clients don't wait too long to make that offer. So there's a real balance happening.
Oh, awesome, Beth. It sounds like you guys are really acting as a mediator within that interview process and the hiring cycle. What about you, Maureen? What are your thoughts on talent attraction in this post-pandemic world, and any way that you can choose to optimize the talent pool and attract yourself or even your clients even further?
Yeah, I mean, I start at the very beginning when I think about the job descriptions, to be frank with you. Job descriptions are the attraction to a candidate when they're looking to make a move. So being transparent, having an attention-grabbing statement about your company that might be differentiating you from another company is going to be very attractive. I mean, statistically, more than 50% of job seekers are saying that the quality of the JDs or the job descriptions are really what makes their decision to apply or not apply. So I think that has a great, I think really you need to make your job descriptions reflect exactly what the job is as well. Some individuals are interviewing for positions where the job description says one thing and the hiring manager is telling them something that might not align. So that probably should be fixed. And another thing as well, look into employee referral programs, and make it a significant amount. If you're, people know people, and when you work at a good company and you want to attract good talent, the referral program works spectacularly, I believe.
Awesome. Awesome. Some good stuff there. Tracy, finishing up with you, what are your thoughts on talent attraction in this very interesting year?
So yes, definitely needing to get in there early with customers and set expectations and educating them on the marketplace. We've found that having those upfront conversations very candidly about timing, wage, remote work, all those things that are at the foremost helps some with the process. It can still be a little challenging for sure, because what we're hearing from a lot of our hiring managers is, I wasn't prepared for that increase in a rate hike. I need to go back and see what we have in budget. So getting that conversation really up front has been helpful for us, because most of the time it ends up with hiring managers needing to go back and reset expectations for their team or their leadership as well. We've had the same problem that Beth was referring to in some employers are wanting to move so fast that the employees are a little alarmed at the process and how quickly they're getting moved from applying to an offer. But then I've also got employers that are wanting to wait 3 weeks before they even get back to us about interviews, and the candidates are no longer available. And so having those conversations often also through the process, and just really being that consultant for your hiring manager, because it is a brand new day out there. Some of them have never engaged in this kind of hiring practice before or seen these kind of numbers. If they're in the last, since 2008 probably was the last time we saw something like this on the economy, but never to this extent. So I would just say that definitely setting expectations for your hiring managers up front. We've also had to incorporate a couple of new things that we never did, and that was asking questions like, are you going to ship equipment to them? Do they need to use their personal equipment? How do we get equipment back from them once we've had an end of an assignment or a term? Those are new challenges that we're facing also with the remote workplace and that we've had to work through. So
very interesting. Definitely some new challenges faced within this world. I always find it fascinating. I think anyone within the talent space spends a lot of their time on LinkedIn, and I've been in awe at what Amazon and, even recently with Bank of America has done to really increase their wage earnings, which I think is going to set a lot of competitiveness behind the candidates and what they're looking to actually make. So I'm sure, in Tracy's world, for example, dealing with an IT, which is nearly a 0% unemployment rate in some sectors of IT, you guys have had to have that conversation on wage and actually a competitive wage and what makes sense from a budgetary point as well. So these are all things that are lending itself to the talent attraction. But Beth, you mentioned something in your response that is actually going to lead me to my next question, and that is the resignations. April alone had 4 million resignations. May had 3.8 million resignations, calculating to nearly 5% of the total workforce that resigned in 2 months' time. So we are now facing what many are calling the Great Resignation. There's a lot of different reasons that lead up to this, but mainly it's all boiling down to the war on retention. As my friend Lori Camacho put it, who is somebody that I follow on LinkedIn, the greatest dilemma facing your company in the next 5 years will not be how to source talent, but how to keep it. So let's add some preface to this. Not only are we dealing with a generation, and a majority of the generation, if we look at millennials and Gen Zs, that average tenure is about 2 years, who value skill sets and experiences over tenure and longevity and even monotonous work. But we are also dealing with the exodus of baby boomers, coupled with people within a pandemic mindset that are looking to potentially find something more fulfilling, and then really boiling down to 9.8 million job openings, and everyone becoming vastly aware of how competitive they can be within the candidate pool. So, when it comes to retention and how to keep clients, that's exactly what I want to touch on next. So with so many opportunities in the current market, it's becoming harder to retain top talent. And we've gone over a few of the reasons why. Maureen, can you share some strategies that you help consult with your clients and within your own organization to stay competitive when it comes to retention and to actually keep the talent that they have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this should be top of mind for every single organization. If it isn't, you need to rethink where you are, because it is a nationwide concern. If you think about what retention does, it builds a knowledge base, consistency with your clients, workplace satisfaction. You're able to identify the superstars, right? Because you've had them for years and you can promote them. And there's really all positive things that come around that. Coming out of the pandemic, I've heard things like have everyone back in the office for 60 days, and determine whether or not this is you actually need the people. So therefore you can have flexibility with the schedules and not just have that policy that you had 5 years ago where everyone worked the same days, the same hours. Granted, we all need core hours to keep the operations running, but the flexibility and allowing your employees to, come in a little bit later, but work a little bit longer, or, just having flexibility, a couple of days at home. It's very powerful. People are really looking for that these days. I've heard about maternity and paternity leaves, that these are all things that companies need to adopt into their normal practice to retain. So think about everything else that you can do in order to keep your employees. Personal development time, give everyone an hour to put in something that they want to learn outside of exactly what their role is. Maybe it's some sort of an exchange with another employee. Having quarterly reviews and incentive bonuses instead of annual bonuses actually keeps your employees engaged, and it can all be gauged on your metrics, right? So you're not just throwing money at them quarterly, you're developing metrics, and they're able to see that they are benefiting quicker, rather than waiting for a full year. One of the things that I've heard quite a bit about in smaller businesses, really particularly, is having employees feel like they have a part of the business. They own a part of the business. And I'm not saying giving them stocks or, shares or anything like this, but having them have ownership of their role and developing not only themselves, but the people around them.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's really lending itself to, I think, the majority of so many workers who want to expand on skill sets and have that fulfillment at work as well. Tracy, can you give us a little bit more on how are some ideas on y'all's end on retaining talent?
Sure. A definite challenge. I'm going to go back to one of our core principles, and that's relationships. So having relationships with your contractors, consultants, so that you're aware of challenges or thoughts that they may have around their current job. So more frequent check-ins is what we've had to definitely employ. We used to do a once a month check-in. We're finding that things are changing in a month. So a 2-week check-in is usually more of a finger on the pulse. Also, we offer for retention additional certifications in their field, offering to pay for those certs if they indeed pass the exam, professional development, anything that they're interested in that would help them with their craft. We're happy to kind of dangle those carrots in front of them and then say, we're happy to pay for it, but we ask that you are retained, 3 months later, 6 months later, that you're not going to leave. Those are gentlemen's agreements. They're not written policy. At this point, we feel like something in writing might be a little harsh at the moment, but it's definitely something that we're discussing and really trying to get the employee to buy into that professional development on their own. And of course, the wage question. You pay people well, they're not looking or as quick to look. Having those conversations as we come up on contract renewals ahead of time with our customers helps them then go back to look at their own budget. So we're already kind of prepping some of our customers on our longer term contracts that they probably will need to go back and readjust on their end on their budget side. So a lot of different things. I love the quarterly bonus idea as opposed to an annual. I made a note of that myself because I do think that more frequent rewards keeps you kind of fresh in their mind about, you know, what are you doing for me lately? And that's the question that most humans have, much less a consultant on staff. So that's what we're hoping.
100%. I love the idea of the certifications as well. I mean, there's a sense of loyalty when you have somebody that's investing in you and your own career development. And with the quarterly bonus, I just know from my own personal experiences, how many times have you spoken with somebody that actually resigns after the annual bonus just to wait and hold out? So it makes a lot of sense. Beth, finalizing it with you, please. Thoughts on retention?
Well, I'm going to go back to where it all starts with those new grads and, 0 to 2 level of years experience. So what we're seeing in this generation and the previous generation, millennials, was that they would change careers, not just jobs, but careers 8 times over their lifetimes. That's a lot of changes, especially from the previous generations where, doggone it, you get a job and you stick to it. So we're finding that there's a lot of distraction. So when you've got a generation that's full of like stuff to look at, they're going to look at it. And so retention is going to be a priority, especially among these, younger generations. So, you might want to do some hallway shopping. If you've got a top performer in one area and they may be looking to be bored, you might be able to challenge them in another area, because that's exactly what these newer generations are going to be doing. They're going to do a little hallway shopping, and they've proved that they can organize and they can create a little bit of group power. So if you're very set in your ways, they're going to challenge that. So, we're learning that through the like the Reddit group that short stocked the GameStop and the meme stocks like BlackBerry, and they can go over and they can almost teach an older generation a lesson because this is the way they feel and they think. So they understand how to manipulate and how to move things around, and they want to be engaged with something. So, I think that part of the retention is going to be really important for those candidates. Additionally, our bench strength is much lower for those candidates right now because of the recession, because of the pandemic. So it's created a bit of a compression from the candidates who were due to graduate in 2020, 2021, and has pushed that back. So there's a much shorter bench for those candidates for 0 to 2. Traditionally, that has created more of an earning power for those 2 to 4 year candidates. And that's where the budget discrepancy starts, in that early 2 to 4 years past recession, because those salaries will go up pretty soon. The middle manager salaries will go up, and then the leadership salaries will go up. And this is because last year was all about cost containment. I've had clients who are redoing their budget and forecasting on the fly because they're not paying the candidates enough. I think that's one of the questions that we had in the Q&A, is how clients or companies are addressing that pay discrepancy. And it's just that. So when they can't find talent enough, they're having to go back and retool their payroll budgets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you hopped into that, Beth, because we're getting some great questions within the chat, and you addressed one of them already. Renee, thank you for submitting your question. I'm going to hold this to Maureen and Tracy, because I imagine that you guys have had to have that dialogue as well. Beth, let us know her thoughts on that. But what do you guys think of clients or hiring managers when it comes to discrepancy in the market on their budgets and the candidates who are demanding more money? For example, senior accountants are a hot quality candidate. they're about $45 an hour plus. Now, if you have a client that's under budget, what's that sort of dialogue that you need to do to let them know, hey, it's time to reanalyze?
So I always show them what they can afford and what they would like. And then that starts a real conversation on, do you have internal capacity to handle what you can afford and bring someone in at a lower level? Or if that's a no, then who do you need to go talk to, because this is it? And are there any other perks we need to talk about that can try to close the gap? But it's usually with a presentation of skill sets and real life candidates and consultants that are, here it is, here's where the rubber's meeting the road. This is the candidates that are out there. And it's an education process, and most of them understand it. They are challenged by going to ask for it, but you've done your job in educating them in what they can afford and what they would like. And then the rest is really kind of we pitch the ball back in their court, and we keep looking, of course, to try to find that unique fill between pay discrepancy. But we all know, and this is the other thing that I tell the customer too, if you're not paying them well and they take a $20 an hour pay cut or something like, they're going to continue to look. Your possibility of retaining this person is extremely low based on that. And so there's that part of the education as well. Nobody wants to train someone in 6 months after they just retrained. Well, nowadays it's a month and a half and people are already leaving for another job. And also I'll tell customers, this candidate, this consultant is interviewing not just with you, but with other companies. So just be aware of the fact that this is highly sought after talent, and you have to be competitive or you will eventually end up losing them in the market.
Absolutely. Maureen, any thoughts on what you'd like to add to that? And there was a follow-up question from Renee. Have you had to turn away business based on low budgets?
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, I mean, there's a want list and a must-have list, and that's always something that I need to go through, right, with the clients, because it's a laundry list of everything that they want, but the budget doesn't really accommodate that. So it really comes down to the level of the candidate, their skill set, what they bring to the table. I mean, the budget is the budget. They're going to have to, they have to work that. I can't help them adjust their budget naturally, but I think at the end of the day, if there are certain things that they can do without, where it might reduce the compensation of the candidate. But I'm very much aligned with what Tracy said, where, if you underpay a candidate or an employee coming in, they are not staying for, a period of time that is acceptable. And so there are two things to do. Either you take your requirements down, which brings the comp down, or you change your budget and find it in other places. There's really not an easy solution, unfortunately, but it is real.
Particularly in today's market, which the risk is that much greater. We're getting some good questions, so I hope you guys don't mind that we've changed up the flow of this a little bit. There was another question that came in through our chat. Let me just go ahead and pull that up. This is from, let's see here, FNU Samina. It sounds like you potentially are in college right now, Samina. What is your perspective on new graduates? Most of the companies require past experiences to hire, but fresh graduates do not have that past experience. So Beth, I'm gonna leave this to you because you did collaborate a little bit on those new graduates. Any sort of education that y'all give to the clients, and also in turn, these fresh graduates that are embarking within the workforce?
Gosh, yes, I'm so excited about this question because this is the perfect time for new grads.
Yes.
You don't have to have a whole lot of experience to get that first opportunity, not like it has been in previous years. But I will tell you, if you want a job, a professional job in an office, you need to have a pretty good command of Excel and a track record of being accurate, on time, strong support professional skills, being able to self-manage, things like that. And you have to have some examples of how you've done that in the past. If you don't have a lot of experience, I would try to create some sort of an example of how you've managed a difficult situation while you've been in college, or you've previous to this position. But your education will play a key part of it, and also your overall ability to convince the employer that you can support them, that you can do the tedious, mundane, difficult tasks that a lot of people don't want to do until you prove yourself to get promoted. And then the other thing that you can do is bring in a great skill set of something so basic like Microsoft Office, especially Excel.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
some great stuff there. Go ahead, Maureen.
Yeah, thank you. I think obviously the college degree is, no one can take that away from you. So more power to that. However, I do strongly urge all college students to have internships. Get yourself into an office if that's what you're doing, if that's where you want to be. Have an internship, have someone sponsor you. To Beth's point, be creative in what you've done on a personal level, even, that you are a go-getter, that you are organized, and have examples. To her point, I think those are all areas that can be improved. Don't embellish on your resume at all, because you never want to set yourself up for failure. If you're asked a question on your resume, you need to be true and honest to that. But the internships, I think it's very, very powerful. Even if it's just the last year, when you're a junior going into your senior year, just have there are so many internships, so many businesses are looking for young people, and then you're almost guaranteed a job with that company in the end.
Awesome. Thank you, Maureen, for that. We're getting some other really good questions. Larry and Neil, I see y'all's question come through. I'm going to save those in just a few. I'm also going to change up the flow to our panelists. That way you guys have a heads up on this. But because we're having the great dialogue, I'd love to follow up with this. And that's women returning to the workforce, mothers in particular. I believe all four of us here are mothers, so we know what the battle has been like to just balance work and home life, and now couple that with a pandemic. I believe the figure is nearly 1.7 million mothers still have not yet made the return to the workforce. So what are going to be some of the tactical strategies that organizations should engage in and that you would recommend so that we can really attract this pool of talent that has not yet made their foothold within this marketplace? Tracy, you want to give us your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so not only are we having this challenge with our consultant pool, I have a team of ladies that are on my recruiting side that are all mothers themselves. And so having a level of empathy and understanding what the challenges are that they're actually facing and how to best work around those, set the stage for how we start having conversations with our customers as well. To me, and this is old school, what was good for the goose is good for the gander. So if I was going to tell customers that they should look at these things, I needed to be doing these things myself just to see how well they worked in the workplace and what were the challenges that we were seeing. Flexibility with work schedule, allowing people to work from home if their child can't go to daycare or school because they're sick, and just letting them have that comfort level of, I'm going to put my foot out there and potentially take away time from my family when they need me, but the moment they need me, I'm able to kind of revert back and do both, because we have been doing both for a very long time. I think communication is key, and then we've been really just trying to play that, it's matchmaking at its finest, right? Companies that have already embraced that change and want to be part of that return to the workforce, along with consultants that are needing that little extra sensitivity around their needs around being a mom and being an extremely valuable asset to a company, and just making those matches, and then really having candid conversations with consultants around where are their fears, where's their motivation, why are they wanting to return, why are they not, what's keeping them from returning. As we reach out to passive candidates, you really need to understand where your consultants are coming from so that as you present them, you're making sure that the connection there is going to be a good one. No one wants to upset a client or a consultant through just bad matchmaking. So a lot more relationship driven. Again, I'm going to use that word to find out what their real concerns are. And so I think it just goes back to a real basic human level of understanding needs and wants and making them feel safe and secure when you're presenting them to clients for interview.
Awesome. Tracy, I love how you started off the response to your question is really aligning the blueprint to how this is going to be conducive and actually applied into the workplace. Not only are you guys practicing what you preach, but you're having an operational backup plan so that you can support such a model. So I think that's critical as well. Beth, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, so we are having a talent demand. And when you look at it, I will say that practically, a good approximation is about 80% of the candidates who I place are women. So when you take out that number of women out of the workforce,
Wow.
We're going to have a talent demand until we replace those women back in the workforce. So I'm going to strongly encourage Tracy's example of creating a work environment that welcomes women back into the workforce, creating some flexibility, some air in their schedule so they can pick up their kids, so they can work from home on some days that they need to. Because we're going to, when we finally get women back into the workforce with the same number of women back into the workforce post-pandemic, we're going to have issues to contend with, like a pay gap, affordability for daycare, can they get their work from home situation. So I would hope that we're more proactive, given the history and the experience that we've had in the last year, than we are reactive as they return to the workforce.
Right. Absolutely. Maureen, thank you for that, Beth. What are your thoughts on this, Maureen?
So I think there are two sides to this, right? There are the women that are trying to re-enter the workforce, and then there is the company that is trying to attract women. So for the women that are trying to re-enter, you need to tap into your network, your virtual network, your in-person network, whatever you have at this point, and flex those connections. Ask for help. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Everybody loves to help everybody. So get into that. Remind yourself what you bring to the table. Be confident and approach it accordingly. And then for the businesses, I've been reading some articles and really looking into this a little bit more, because I as well, Tracy, I have mostly women on my team, and I accommodate their schedules as needed, and they work beyond hard for me. They're always available. They always are giving everything that they can possibly give, and they wear multiple hats like we all do. But for the businesses, I would say, promote women's stories from within your organization. Talk about how women can be, starting out maybe as an entry-level employee and moving up into an executive level or a director level, but promote those stories on your website so that women can actually see this might be a company that I might like to entertain a job at. A blog, a day in the life of, Tracy or Angela. What is it like to be Angela at my base pay, and post that out. The more information that we can put out there in the social media platforms that we use, the better off you are to attract the talent. Make the job postings more inclusive. So statistically, this is interesting. The word aggressive in a job description, 44% of women are discouraged by that word, and they walk away from it. 33% of men are discouraged. So removing words like aggressive and demanding and rock star and ninja, and using others that are more, calm, maybe understanding, like powerful, strong-willed, likable, creative. things like that are going to attract more women because we're going to feel that soft side a little bit more. And so, that kind of goes all the way back to the job descriptions again, which I started out speaking about. It's really how you're positioning yourself in the market. And if you can present yourself as a business that is open to having women, then these are the things that you need to follow.
Those are some fantastic insights that I think I written down mentally in my mind, that we can start applying at our organization. So thank you so much for that. Pushing through our next question, I really would love to get y'all's thoughts on the partner economy. So we are dealing with a very high requisition ratio when it comes to filling these type of roles. I speak to agencies all the time. Their fill ratio on a great day was at about 25 to 30%. Right now it's leaning towards 15 to 20 just because of the scarcity in filling roles and the talent that's needed to do that. So, as My Base Pay is looking to launch the marketplace, really the brainchild behind this was the split partner economy. And I'd love to get y'all's thoughts on maximizing candidate inventory by perhaps leveraging other agencies or partners that you guys work with through this process. So with the current candidate market, what are some creative ways that your organization has partnered with similar organizations to fulfill positions and the needs for your client? Beth, any feedback on that?
Yeah, so we have been able to, Spectrum Staffing Group is a boutique firm. So we're independently owned. We're not part of a larger network. We've got, independent practices. And so when we see another sister agency or partner agency out in the marketplace who is looking to work with us, we want to make sure, number one, they're qualified to work with us on our open positions. And we're also looking to get more of a talent base to fill these positions. So we've probably got probably 4 partners who we reach out to work with on different positions, and they reach out to us as well. So you kind of have to have a stronger trust-based relationship with your competition, which is very unusual in recruiting. But we do want to open up the doors a little wider, especially because we find it so much better for our companies, the clients that we're trying to fill these positions in. The other thing that we've done, and we're very much trying to support other professional organizations. Like I'm a member of and have been a board member of the American Payroll Association. And so combining with that organization and reaching out to the members, staying in touch, that's helped. And then the other thing that we've done that's been very useful is working with Handshake, which is the university. It's a national format now. Handshake is what most universities use for job seekers who are graduating or at some level of classification within their university. So they have a link on their careers page, and it takes the students to Handshake, and we post the jobs there. And we have to almost educate the new grads and a lot of those younger candidates about how to work with a recruiter, and also build the level of comfort for those universities to open up their student base to the recruiters. Because again, they don't want to just have anyone post these positions. They want to take care of their student body as well. So you have to create those relationships that work and that are trusted and that are just smart affiliations.
Thank you for that, Beth. There's definitely some great tips in there, especially how you guys partner and leverage outside organizations within, the university space and also through Handshake. Tracy, any thoughts to this?
I'm taking as many notes as I'm giving. So I love the Handshake because we have reached out to the career counselors at organizations that offer IT certifications. Those are, they've just obtained a certification. Now they're trying to put it to good use. We keep close relationships there. We also partner with agencies that cannot work with state and local government. We are a large state and local government vendor. That's the majority of our business. And so We reach out to partners that don't have the opportunity to work with those clients because of their lack of ability to complete the contract that's required, a very lengthy process to work with the state of Texas. So we have reached out there. We found that we're being very selective, and we're doing it with roles that maybe we're not quite so well versed in. So we're quick to hand those off and reach out to our partner on roles that we are very solid, have a great bench for a quick turnaround. So we've had to get very strategic in who we ask, when we ask, and what we ask. So yeah, definitely reaching out for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely some creative ways to try to fill that talent. At the end of the day, it's all about setting the right expectations with the client. Maureen, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, kind of depending on the level of the, the position or, the candidate. There are several CPA firms that have networks for finance and accounting professionals. And I do partner with several of them because they are looking for jobs and they're not quite sure where to go necessarily. So they have a rather large database. But there's also some applicant tracking systems that partner with other agencies kind of behind the scenes almost, where the position gets posted out to the job board, so to say, and other agencies that have been vetted not only by that business, but also through the Wilner group. We would obviously also want to have a strategic partner there, but they have the opportunity to work on the positions as well, and it's not really competition. It's healthy competition in a sense, and so I think there are so many avenues that you can take. Really, it comes down to a lot of networking and using those networks to your fullest ability. Going back to the colleges, certainly I've partnered with so many local colleges. But I've also asked them about their alumni associations, because it's not only just the entry level, the new students graduating. It's really, tell me about the people that might be looking for a change or might be in transition, and how can I help them?
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Maureen, for that. We're going to leave the last part of our show today because we have about maybe 13 minutes or so to go over some Q&As, because I'm really excited to bring this to you guys and pick y'all's brain on some of the questions that our attendees are asking. I'm going to start with Larry Brantley. Larry, thank you so much for submitting this. This one I think is fascinating, and it's always probably one of the more difficult conversations to have with the client. But considering the current climate of looking for workers that are appropriate to fill roles, Larry has asked, have you had to adjust your fees or basically increase them upward based on market demand and the extra amount of work that we are now doing as recruiters? Beth, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, and I negotiate fees every day. And I've got clients who are so firm. I mean, the talent acquisition managers are in place to create cost control. And so when we've got these contracts coming in that are not as competitive as other clients, it's hard to let those hiring managers know that you're not competitive to see the best talent. If this candidate doesn't get hired here, yeah, you'll be presented here. It's not my decision, but it's the team's decision in order to make money. And that's who we are. We are contingent recruiters. We work for free until they make a hire. So when there's you can make a certain amount at one firm and then make $2,000 less at another firm, those top talents, they're always going to go to the ones that are paying higher fees. So I had to talk with the hiring manager this past week, and he said, please, can you bring your fee down to X? And I said, please don't do that. Please don't, please, not for my sake, but for your sake. You're not doing yourself any favors by trying to get our fee lower, because the talent is going to go to another company. And so if, ultimately he decided not to negotiate at that level. But I seriously doubt he's going to get the best talent. because he's bringing these fees down to such a lower level that we can't, I mean, all of the less talented firms are going to go to the higher paying fees. So
Yeah.
I would strongly recommend that you don't negotiate off of a competitive fee. If it's not even for the recruiter's sake, it's for the company's sake.
And it comes down to educating them. Okay, Maureen, I know you're ready for this one. What do you think on negotiating potentially for higher fees?
It is such a tight market, and Beth, right, we work for free until we make the placement, unless it's a retained search, which is a part of my portfolio as well. But, what's interesting about it is we have so many open positions and the recruiters only have so many hours to work on them. And they're always intrigued, as many are, that when new opportunities come in the door, which is basically every single day, oh, let's shift and work for this one. I have clients that have reached out to me and say, how do we prioritize our job? Or jobs, really, because it's usually more than one. We will pay you 10% more. I am not joking. 10% more for you to work on this role and these roles for our company than any other. I mean, that only goes so far, because it doesn't much matter if I don't fill it. It doesn't matter how much more it is, right? But I think at the end of the day, negotiating down, especially recruiting, is so challenging right now. And we are doing a job for both sides. We are working for the company, and we are educating the candidate and bringing all of that powerful information about the company to the candidate and making it attractive. So we're really working for the company very, very hard. And I think that we should be rewarded for it in the end. So I try not to negotiate my fee.
Oh, awesome. Awesome insight. So Tracy, I'm really curious to hear your response on this, because you guys, as you mentioned, do work with government contract, which sometimes can mean more constrictive language at the very beginning. Maybe we are dealing with set markups or set direct hire fees. Have you guys ever had to have this conversation, and how do you guys handle that?
So you're right. As I was listening to Beth and them, I'm thinking, I don't have this problem. I have a very different challenge. Yes, state and local government contracts are set. They were set back in last August. And that's the rate. That's it. There is no renegotiating that. It's very public. What we've had to do, which is what a lot of companies have had to do that work in that sector, is we've had to compress our own margin because pay rates have increased, and yet I can't change my bill rate until next year. That it's just happened that way. And so really trying to be good about market value on what a bill rate is, so that we can get a competitive pay rate, keeps me out of that other dangerous conversation about changing my markup and my margin. But we've noticed a definite compression here. And so like all things government, it takes a while for them to catch up with the industry. Right. And so I'm probably going to feel a little bit of this rub, probably another year, as we right size expectations. And that all filters its way to the people that actually are looking at budget spreadsheets and making decisions. They're going to have to feel a little pain first, I think, before that gets done. So yeah, we have not changed our rates. Instead, we've seen a decrease in margin.
Awesome. Well, that's good. And actually Larry responded, and he commented, we've actually had to we have held firm due to replacement guarantees. We only do direct hire at 25% of base now. So good for you, Larry.
Wait, Larry.
Do it. All right. Neil has asked a question. As a staffing firm, how to attract good recruiters in this competitive market when recruiters are in high demand? We were actually talking about this yesterday, Neil. I saw a meme on LinkedIn. Recruiters are now being compared to Bitcoin, guys, because there is such a high demand. How are you attracting good recruiters in this current market and changing jobs, as they're changing jobs more frequently? Or even further, are you able to attract good recruiters in this current market? Tracy, what are your thoughts on this?
So I am so glad this question came up, because yesterday I was telling this group that I must suck as a recruiter because I cannot lock in another recruiting person for my team. We need recruiting help. And I've pulled out all the stops and I'm still unable to attract recruiting talent. They're locked in where they're at. They're making good money where they're at. They don't want to move. They don't want to leave. I get them all the way down to the negotiation of the offer. The offer's made, and then their company counter offers. And I even put them on the counter offer. I mean, I'm doing all the things, and it's still not working. But yeah, that's what I heard from this group is, oh no, you're not alone. It's definitely what's happening. Now it's made me realize I need to pull out all the stops to keep the wonderful talent I have currently. I'm having conversations with my executive leadership this week as of, hey, as I'm looking for a recruiter trying to steal someone, I don't want my own people to get stolen. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword. Hang on to what you have. And then what do you do? And they're wanting all the things we just talked about. They're wanting increase in pay. They're wanting more flexibility. They're wanting clear line of sight to what their goals could be. Those kinds of conversations, culture of the company. I mean, I've been singing the GTS song and dance for literally over 2 months now. And it's challenging. So I promise not to steal yours if you promise not to steal mine. So let's go find some other talent out there. I'm actually going to look at growing our own. So bringing in lower level, not trying to find that senior level recruiter, and really growing my own on the team. That's about where I'm having to put my hat today.
Oh, well, what an interesting tactic to try to, create some agility within this market. You have to evolve quickly, I think. Beth, any thoughts on good recruiting talent and how to make yourself attractive to that recruiting talent?
Just really echoing what Tracy said. The other thing is you have to look for the people who are unhappy. And if they're not unhappy now, you kind of have to hope that they're unhappy in the future. It's the long game. Recruiting is a long game when it comes to finding the talent that you want to join your team. So it's investing in them, keeping in touch with them, checking in every month, every 3 months, every year, and then creating that buzz within a network of trusted recruiters. In our industry, we really have a more successful ratio at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year, before commission schedules change. So a lot of recruiting firms, their commission schedules kind of start over in January. And so that's when a lot of recruiters, so you really have to make sure that you hit your peak seasonality for hiring. And then also, I'm thinking that mid-year is also a great time to take a look at the recruiters who are may have some circumstances that they're not satisfied with, or they're not making the money because their business is too siloed. There are circumstances that happen. So I think you really have to keep on that for the long game, and then also strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know that about the seasonality. So interesting find on my end. Maureen, final thoughts to this?
Yeah, we are in the same boat as everyone else. And I feel the pressure on my employees at this point, and I don't really want that to be the way. So we are developing a campaign to reach out to some colleges, some local colleges. I mean, the job can be 100% remote, so it doesn't much matter, but we're going to run some campaigns for HR graduates, that might have an interest, and also develop more of a better internship program. So, where we can bring some interns in, show them the ropes in a way, and see if it might be of interest for them when they graduate, because they're all remote as well. So it could be a full year,
Wow.
So we have, we've had some success with that. So that is going to be the way I go. I'm not looking for the 5-10 year recruiter. I have my own way of operating, and I want it to be the Wilner Group way. So we're gonna start them off young and early career.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Taking that same tactical approach that Tracy and team are doing as well, because right now it seems like an experienced recruiter is a little bit slim pickings, as they say. We had 2 other really good questions come through that unfortunately we will not have time to get to Neil, thank you for your other question. And Renee, thank you as well. As we're wrapping up today's show, do you guys have any closing remarks before we end today's session?
I would say, and this might answer Renee's question just a little bit, is transparency and honesty on all accounts is really helpful right now as people are really trying to deal with challenges and things that they, so if you're transparent and upfront, I think that bleeds over to your team as well. Sorry, I have some noise over there, but
no worries.
I think we're all learning, and I think flexibility, being fluid, being transparent is going to take you a long way.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. Maureen, Beth?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, communication, transparency, honesty, people want to work with who they like. So, accolades and just being nice and genuine, that's, it's easy.
Yep. And I'd like to just make sure that we're doing everything possible to encourage women to return to the workforce, making it an inviting atmosphere, letting them know that there will be an entrance for them when they're ready to get back to work.
Oh, absolutely. Hallelujah to that. I think, right now is back to school time. So if there's any way that we can capitalize that on create campaign strategies, on realizing that maybe there is going to be some alleviation coming up way, then right now is the time to strategize on how to execute that. So ladies, thank you guys so much for being a panel on today's show. And more than that, thank you for our listeners and our attendees that have joined us on today's session. We had some great dialogue. Maybe there'll be a round 2 of this coming up one day. But if you guys have any suggestions or topics, or even some more questions that are pressing that we can talk on in future webinars, especially here with My Base Pay, as we're going to be formalizing the cadence around these, let us know. We're all about having these dialogues within the industry because we're going through some interesting times right now. So having said that, thank you guys for joining us today.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Angela.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.